What is up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Called Football. This is episode 13, and Jackson and I have an international break kind of treat this week. Sure, it's the international break. We're still going to talk all Premier League because, Jackson, as we were saying beforehand, it's not the most exciting international break this week.
It's really not. Like you were saying, the slot that was on Fox Sports earlier today consisted of what, Azerbaijan and Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
Your usual powers. So
We'll say Azerbaijan beat Sweden 3-0, so
dude, I don't know what's going on with them.
Sweden's in the mud.
Yeah, they are terrible right now.
Besides that, it's Thursday, a week away from Thanksgiving for us in the U.S. But Jackson, how you doing this Thursday afternoon?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. Don't have any complaints this week.
Love that. A little quieter this week than it has been for you.
Yeah. Ish. There's more. I'm deciding whether I stay or transfer for next year. So I've had so much shit. I'm mentally drained, but
At least you don't have to have too much mental stability to talk Premier League action, and that's where we'll start. Man City and Chelsea. That was the one we touted as our game of the week last week, and it lived up to that. I think we both thought Man City was going to win comfortably. Ultimately, ended as 4-4, and that was just a fun match to watch.
And I remember thinking before I gave Man City the win. I'm like, I think they're going to get it done. But Chelsea, for whatever reason, shows up against the good teams. I don't know why they can't do it against the bad teams, because that should be when it's easiest. But they show up against the good teams, and that's what they did in this game. Like, it's actually probably the best game the Premier League's had so far this year, I think.
Oh, I would agree.
100%. This 4-4 was by far the best game because you had City going up, then Chelsea tying it, then Chelsea going up. Then here comes City, and then here comes City again. Then here comes Nicholas Jackson actually scoring a goal, and then Rodri, and then finally Cole Palmer in the 95th. You had little bits of shithousery from Cole Palmer with his former teammates. You had literally every single element to this game that you could ever want. So, yeah, by far the game of the year, I'd say. And kudos to Chelsea.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was just exciting. 10 shots on goal for City, 9 for Chelsea. So it wasn't like it was kind of one of those where, you just made a couple goals and there were obviously penalties both ways. Nicholas Jackson is on a tear at the moment. He might be the hottest player in the Premier League over the last 2 weeks. Hat-trick, obviously, against Tottenham 2 matches ago, and then the goal against City this week. And Chelsea looks surprisingly good, but like you said, they just show up against teams that are better than them.
Yeah.
It's like what I think I said last week, college basketball especially, college football even. There are certain teams that always play to the level of their competition. You could be playing Kansas and you could upset them. ASU basketball, for an example, while I was there, ASU basketball would go out and beat Kansas, and then they would play some bottom mid-major team and get absolutely thumped. That happens to a lot of teams, a lot of sports, and Chelsea's one of those we're seeing this year where you play to your level of competition, where they played teams like Bournemouth and didn't necessarily do all that hot. Lost to Brentford 2-0. Then you go and beat Tottenham 4-1. Draw with Man City, which it was an impressive performance, but I don't know. It was just one of those wild ones because obviously Haaland got his goals. That's to be expected. I was surprised to see Raheem Sterling kind of get back on the score sheet and actually kind of get going for once.
No, I agree. He's not very good at scoring goals. Like, I was trying to think of how to delicately put it. He's not that good at finishing. I feel like the goals he usually scores are like they hit his shin in a unique way off a cross that goes in or something like that. So I don't know. He's just a name that I never expect to see score. I remember when they bought him last year and they were playing him rather than other players. I was like, dude, what are we doing? But I mean, fair play. Got himself a goal and against his former team. So I mean, if there's ever a time to do it, to get your goal scoring boots back on, it's against your former team.
Oh yeah, and I mean it was not a bad goal. It was one of those ones where he put himself in a perfect position, and that's what he seems to always do. He does have that pace, so gets in the right position. It's just the point you said. He just doesn't find the back of the net. He isn't clinical at times. Maybe this is the turnaround for Raheem Sterling, because if he's in his goal scoring form, which I agree with you, you're shaking your head. I don't think so. But that's a big boost for England, not only in the Euro qualifying, but in the Euros next summer, which I would love to see Sterling get back to kind of his goal scoring ways. But I don't see it happening with this Chelsea team, more because of everything surrounding it. It was cool to see Cole Palmer get the goal. Were you surprised that they gave him the penalty in the 95th minute?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because he's young and he just got there and he's not super established yet. But no, because he can frickin' take pens. The one he scored right before, what was it, last week? The one off the post?
So
Yeah, I think it was last week. Hit the one off the post.
Yeah.
Like, he can take a pen. So I'm assuming they've had some form of penalty shootout game in training where he's just dominated, you know, and he's got it. Because I don't see any other reason why he'd be taking it over, I don't know, just anyone else who's been there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, he can take a pen. He's got a certain level of composure and technical ability that he just doesn't seem phased by the moment at all. So when he stepped up, I mean, a little bit like, holy shit, it's Cole Palmer. He used to play for City. He's young, what the hell? But it's also like, I had that memory of him just hitting it off the post literally 1 week prior. I'm like, okay, he's going to score. And he did. Mm-hmm. So, like, yes and no. And I'm going to say this. Cole Palmer is really starting to establish himself. Like I said earlier, he's not very well established yet. But I think with what he's doing right now, he's definitely establishing himself. And that little bit of shithousery that he did in the game is going to win him so many brownie points with the Chelsea fans. He's really kind of, I think, starting to become one of their key focal points for sure. And I think the fans are going to start loving him much, much more.
I agree with you. And for those who didn't see the shithousery of Cole Palmer, obviously, like Jack said, he was a Man City player last year. He went up while Man City was having their kind of team huddle, just pops his head in, ends up being shoved away by Erling Haaland with smiles on both their faces, kind of just entertaining. And he was kind of just being a pest to his former team all the time, which I know there was a clip that I saw that it was not Kovacic. Yeah, Mateo Kovacic, who it looked like some tweet I saw out said he looked like he was celebrating and fist pumping when Cole Palmer scored, just happiness for him. I don't know how real that is. I don't know all that, but there's definitely that relationship still between Palmer and Man City, which made it even more better for him to get that finish. And talk about him being good for Chelsea. He was part of that England U21 team that won the Euros this summer, which was even more impressive. So he has a bright future for the England national team ahead of him. Had an assist in that final against Spain, and I don't know. He's going to be one to watch out for in the future. Only 21 years old still.
I think he'll get a cap after the Euros. Okay. I don't think he'll get one in the lead up, just because you've got this group of guys that you're looking to like kind of weed down until you get to your core group. I think is it 26 or 23?
I believe 26 for the Euros.
Yeah, I don't remember if they kept it expanded or not. All right, whatever it is, you're looking at that group of players. So I don't think he's going to be able to really have a realistic chance of getting in there, especially with the attacking talent that England has at the moment. Well, I think after the Euros, for sure, if he keeps playing like this, he'll have to get a call-up, right?
Oh, you would think so. And I mean, looking at it now, he's right on that fringe. He may actually have even.
Oh my God, he did get called up.
Yeah, I think he did get the call up for this international break. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So okay, that's actually a little bit. I didn't even look at that. That's a little surprising. But
is Malta and I want to say North Macedonia are the two matches? Yes, Malta, North Macedonia. He did get his call up. I'm sure because England's already qualified for the Euros.
Mm-hmm.
Only way they don't finish top of their group would be if you lose both of them. Ukraine wins both. So that's about it. Because actually, Ukraine only has one match left. So realistically, Ukraine would have to beat whoever they play by 13 goals and have England lose 1-0.
So basically, it's not going to happen.
Basically, it's England has secured the top of their qualification group. So seeing Cole Palmer, seeing some of these younger guys play would not be overly surprising, especially because looking at the March international break, which is the next one, England's 2 friendlies are against Brazil and Belgium, where with that being the last international break before the Euros, you're going to be having your kind of best players and try and get your team solidified for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if he's going to make a move, he's got to do it this international break. He's got to just ball out, be good in training, be good in camp. I still think it's just a little too early, but I mean, hey, he got the call up, so he's got the chance in front of him. He just has to take it.
Oh, yeah. Moving to another match, which talk about a team having a bad week. After being undefeated through the first 10 games of the season, Tottenham have now dropped their second straight. And this one was in just horrendous fashion. I know as the Arsenal fan, you were probably very happy with that, but we've seen it earlier in the season. Tottenham scored 2 stoppage time goals to get the win over, I want to say Brentford, was it? No. Yeah, Brentford.
Yeah. No, was it Nottingham Forest?
It was Forest.
No, it was Sheffield United.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with Richarlison and Kulusevski. But Parma has come back around for him, playing Wolverhampton Wanderers this week. It's 1-0 after 3 minutes, with Brennan Johnson getting his first goal for Tottenham. You think at that point, all right, Tottenham's kind of going to run away with this. Had some chances to make it 2-0, but didn't happen. And then 91st minute.
What a touch.
That was insane by Pablo Sarriba. And, yeah, go ahead. Walk us through that goal because it was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, because he fizzed it. I forget who fizzed in the cross, but he absolutely fizzed it into Sarabia, who had maybe one of the single best touches I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. I think, it was with his right foot. He basically was able to take it in stride, put it up in the air just a little bit, so take off most of the weight of the pass, push it up in a little bit with the touch, and set himself up for the one-time finish. So I guess not one-time finish, but the finish right after that.
No, what? Yeah, he kind of popped it up to himself and volleyed it home.
Yeah, a half volley off of the touch, but it was an insane touch. Like one of the best touches you'll ever see, especially considering the pace of it, where he was on the field. Because if you take a bad touch, keeper comes and claims it, defender comes in and clears it. So you got to get it just right, and he got it just right, like perfect. Yeah. Awesome touch.
Oh, it was great. And realistically, if he put that ball, like you said, anywhere else, he already had a bad angle for the shot. But if it was even half a foot over further, there's no shot at all. He's making the back of the net. Yeah, he does. 1-1. Then Mario Lemina gets the winner in the 97th minute of stoppage time to kind of upset Tottenham and give Wolves much-needed 3 points.
And that's twice this year that Wolves has done this. They've beaten the team on top of the table. Twice. So, I mean, Wolves hasn't really had the greatest year, you'd say, especially compared to years where they're pushing for Europe. But, I mean, they're sitting in 12th right now, 15 points, and they have wins over Man City and Tottenham.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent, all things considered. So, yeah, I mean, great result for them. If you're Tottenham, what this shows is what happens when Van de Ven's hurt, when James Maddison's hurt, and that injury could be more serious than at first anticipated, which is very unfortunate. And I forget, was Romero not involved?
Yeah, because Romero had the red card.
So Romero's not involved. Udogie's not involved. So what this showed is Tottenham's inability to win games without their star players. You're up 1-0, sure, that's cool, you're doing well, but at the end of the day, you fall apart in the final few minutes in stoppage time. That's horrible. That's like the worst time to concede, because that means you don't have the fortitude to hold on and get a result. So little worrisome for Tottenham, especially because guys like Van de Ven and Maddison aren't going to be back for a little bit.
And I know another one who he's looked much better this year than last year, but Richarlison, he was also out this one, and he hasn't been incredible, but that just adds another element and someone else to bring off the bench. I'm looking at Tottenham's injury list at the moment, and it's like injury suspension list for this past week. It's about 10 people deep. You're going to have a hard time competing with any team. when you have that many players injured. There's guys on their bench that I've never even heard of.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
20-year-olds playing, and it's just there's only so much they can do at the end of the day that we're seeing Tottenham struggle a bit. Do you think they've kind of thrown away their shot at the title? We'll
no.
get into that a little bit more detail because it is a very close title race, but I think Tottenham's still in there despite losing 2 matches in a row.
Yeah, I feel like the last 2 matches were kind of unique circumstances
Okay.
where everything fell apart in one game and you're kind of dealing with the fallout in this game.
Yeah.
And you get a perfect storm of insane touch and then your players fall asleep. Lamina runs in behind. It gets a little tap goal, basically past Vicario that rolls into the back of the net on the last kick of the game. I'd say more unlucky than anything this past week. But yeah, I think they're going to be fine, especially because they're going to have Romero back, Udogie back. Richarlison's going to come back quicker. And Madison will be back probably before January.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be fine. And again, there's so much time to go. I haven't really looked at who they have coming up in terms of matches, but they're going to be fine. I don't think at this point there's anything to be concerned about. Postecoglou is a great manager. Players love him. They're playing well. They look like the best team in the Premier League until the last 2 match days. So I think they're still going to be fine.
I will say it's not an easy next 2 matches for them. Home to Aston Villa and then at Man City. So
yeah,
going to be interesting to see what happens to Tottenham as they are a point ahead of Villa, 2 points behind Man City. All to play for still, and we'll hop into that title chase and the whole table picture in a bit. Another upset this weekend. Relegation battling Bournemouth took on Newcastle and beat them 2-0 in their own backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle just did not look great by any means. Bournemouth definitely deserved to win it. Listen, 11 shots on target for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Well, the last time Bournemouth had double-digit shots on target in any match.
Yeah, I can't even think of it. They outshot them by a lot.
Yeah.
I think they had 19 total shots. Yeah, they outplayed them. Newcastle had a little bit more possession, 6% more. They had 53%. I don't think Bournemouth cares ever if they win the possession battle. They showed up offensively and they kicked ass, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dominic Solanke had both goals, 60th minute and then a 73rd minute goal. So it really seemed like Newcastle kind of just fell asleep in the first half. The whole first half, from what I saw of the highlights in the match, it just wasn't overly that eventful. Kind of that second half, and Newcastle had a chance to tie it up. Anthony Gordon had a great touch to meg one of the center backs, found himself kind of with an option of either shooting it or playing it out wide to, I want to say, Longstaff. Decided to take the shot, went directly into Neto's chest. Nothing really came of that, but it's one of those ones that Newcastle had a couple opportunities. Just Bournemouth did everything in their power to stop them, and they did so.
What we're seeing this year with this Newcastle team is a tale of 2 Newcastles. You have the one that beats Arsenal. You have the one that smacks Aston Villa. You have the one that looks like the Newcastle team we all expected. And then you have this Newcastle, the one that loses 2-0 at Bournemouth. And they don't just lose, they get played off the field, in my opinion. And granted, you're missing Callum Wilson this game. You're missing Isak, your main target man up top. You're missing Dan Burn at left back. Like, we get that. But
Everyone's missing players.
Everyone's missing players. Everyone's having to deal with this. You can't suddenly just turn into a different team, a much worse team, when you're missing a few key guys. You know, that's a bad sign because you need that depth.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't know if you saw this post-match, but Kieran Trippier went up towards the crowd and some of the fans were giving him grief, and he just said, yeah, how many guys do we have hurt? There's only so much we can do. We're playing Champions League football midweek, then coming in on 4 days rest and playing a Premier League match. There's no easy games, and this is one of the things that I was a little concerned about Newcastle, and even to a lesser extent Arsenal, because Arsenal has had some European competition in the recent times. Newcastle hasn't. So going from playing once a week to having to play twice a week, it adds a major toll, and we're seeing that with the injury list. And that's why Man City was so impressive last year, is because they did have all that depth. They could play on virtually two completely different teams between Champions League and Premier League. It was remarkable depth, and that's something that Newcastle's kind of getting exposed for at the moment.
Yeah. And I was hoping that things would be okay because I actually kind of want to see this Newcastle story work out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of like the same 6 teams dominating the Prem for a while, bar that new crazy Leicester City run. It was, yeah, what a year. But it was like always the same team. So you get a team that can suddenly disrupt the status quo, and you're like, all right, this is kind of interesting. Let's see what happens. They're not quite there yet. And games like this are showing that because you can have the game where you beat Arsenal and you look really good. But then you have this game right here where you have some injuries, you have a little bit of adversity, and you lose 2-0 to a terrible, terrible Bournemouth team. Let's call it what it is. They're not very good in the scheme of the Premier League. So they're just not quite there yet to the level that some people thought they could be at, including myself. I thought this year they were going to be a top 4 Premier League team. I had faith in Eddie Howe. They don't look like that right now because they look like that sometimes. But then you have games like this where like they're a top 10 team. They're pushing for Europa League kind of team. So tale of two Newcastles is how I would describe this season for them.
Oh, 100%. I mean, going off what you said, we saw them blow out PSG and then get embarrassed, and not embarrassed by Dortmund, but didn't even look like a shade of that team that played the French side. It's such a weird thing this year for Newcastle, and it's, like I said, little to be expected, but we also didn't expect this many injuries. And I will say, I still think the biggest loss, obviously losing Callum Wilson hurts, Alexander Isak hurts, but I still think it's losing Sandro Tonali. I think that is the biggest loss for Newcastle. Obviously, he's done for the year with his gambling issues, so that to me is the biggest blow, more so than any of these other guys that have gotten hurt.
Yeah, I agree. And that one's more crushing because I didn't even think about it when I was going through the guys they're missing because he's not going to play for the rest of the year. And like he doesn't have a chance at it. Like he's just done for the year. So yeah, I mean, dude, he was also like probably maybe their best player before he got hurt. But before he got suspended. Like everything he did in the midfield for them, both on the attacking side, the defensive side, the distribution side, like everything he did, he was probably their best player, minus maybe Isak. So yeah, like you said, losing him and knowing that you're not going to have him back for the whole year has got to be a huge, huge psychological blow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they're right in the mix of that European fight, sitting at 7th at the moment, but it's a very tough battle sandwiched between Man U at 6th, or Brighton at 8th.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to play for still, and like you said, we're 12 matches in. A lot of football left to be played, but it's not looking great for the Gordies at the moment. Moving on to another team that haven't looked good at all, yet consistently find ways to get 3 points here and there, and that's Man United. This is one you mentioned beforehand. Again, they just looked bad against Luton. Nothing special by any means. Still, though, they get the 1-0 win.
Yep. And Lindelof, of all people, gets the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit here and say all we want about them being terrible. I hate this team. They suck to watch. But they're actually getting results against the teams that they should get results against.
100%.
At the end of the day, that's all you can really ask for, especially when looking at this team, everything they've dealt with off the field this year. I know people want Ten Hag's head still, but I mean, they're getting results in the Prem. It's not like they're out of the Champions League fight like at all. I mean, they're literally right there, 5 points out of it. So like that's nothing at this stage of the year.
No.
So even though they look terrible, and I don't think it's a good sign at all, they've looked terrible in so many games recently, but they've actually picked up results in the Prem.
Yep.
maybe that's our secret sauce. Just look like shit and somehow get something to fall your way. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's going off that 1-0 against Luton, 1-0 against Fulham, which again they didn't look good in that one. Sure, obviously lost to Man City, Newcastle. That was a very rough week for them.
yeah,
Sheffield United, you needed a late goal, still got 3 points. Brentford, exact same thing. Scott McTominay's heroic 93rd and 97th minute winners. Even Burnley, they needed a goal and only won 1-0. Nottingham Forest was a late penalty. That whole one with the Wolves on the opening day that scored late and potentially should have given up a penalty, but they didn't. They're finding ways to get 3 points. And that's the difference between a team like Man United and we'll say Chelsea, because that's what we were talking about earlier. Chelsea in these close games against or teams you should beat, they're falling on draws or losses. Man U's taking advantage of their wins. They're finding a way to get 3 points, and it's like it or not, it's what you need to do. Doesn't matter how you win, a win's a win.
yeah, they don't look good doing it, but they're doing it.
Yes.
And I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we're all here. Sports is a results business. It really is. So if you can get the results, all power to you, even if you look like absolute shit doing it.
In the words of the great Herm Edwards, you play to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
What a quote.
you like it or not. God, when he became the ASU football coach, that quote was everywhere, and then he was terrible and got fired right after a game on the field.
Yeah.
Well,
Whoa. I'm gonna give you a little hand clap for bringing that up, man. I love that clip.
oh, it's so great. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing. Probably living under a rock, but Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. It's just electric. That one and then the Colts coach going off about playoffs.
I'm not talking about playoffs.
Damn. Great quotes. Well, obviously, there's some great Premier League quotes. Jose Mourinho's all of his masterclass quotes.
Yeah, you could have a 10-minute compilation of his.
I'm sure there is a 10-minute compilation out there. There's some very colorful managers we've seen throughout the Premier League, even in just the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, 100%.
Other matches this past weekend ahead of the international break, West Ham beat Nottingham Forest 3-2. Late winner in that one by Thomas Souček, 88th minute to get the Hammers all 3 points. Liverpool took care of business 3-0 against Brentford. Brighton, I don't know what's up with them, but drew 1-1 with Sheffield United, scored 6 minutes in, had a guy sent off in the 69th minute, and then gave up an own goal, or conceded an own goal 75th minute. You concerned on Brighton at the moment?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
We're saying, I think it was last episode, that you don't have to be concerned yet. After this week, yeah, I could be a little concerned. Like, you're not losing, but you're not winning.
Yeah.
And Sheffield United is not very good, especially defensively. They leak goals.
Yeah.
That's something Brighton's supposed to be good at. So, little concerning, I'd say for sure.
We put them at a 7 out of 10 in terms of that kind of worry level at the moment, just because they are still getting a point, but you need to start getting 3 points here and there. Like you said, Sheffield United's given up 31 goals this year, the most in the Premier League. Not good at all. But other results, Aston Villa continues their home dominance, wins 3-1 against Fulham. Crystal Palace, Everton. That was an exciting one. 86th minute winner for Everton after that one kind of went back and forth. Got off to a quick start with a goal in the first minute, goal in the 5th minute for Palace to equalize it. So kind of underrated match of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the Arsenal beating Burnley 3-1. Did get a red card, though, for Fabio Vieira. Still got the job done, though.
A little shaky for a little bit when it was 1-1, but never in doubt. Never in doubt.
Yeah. So that takes us to the table. And the current picture, we will go into depth into some of the races around. But, Jackson, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to go through it in 1 to 20. Man City, 28 points, sits atop. Liverpool, second with 27. Arsenal also with 27, behind by 1 goal on the goal difference. Arsenal fans love it. They're ahead of Tottenham, who's in fourth with 26. Aston Villa, surprisingly, fifth with 25. Man U, Newcastle, Brighton, 2 points separate the three of them. Man U sixth with 21. Brighton with 19 in eighth. West Ham is 17 points ahead of Chelsea and Brentford, who both have 16 each. Wolves and Palace, 15, tied on goal difference, so I think it might be head to head is the next tiebreaker there. Then we get towards the bottom. Everton with 14, Forest 13, Fulham 12. Those three teams all kind of seem safe, in my opinion, from the battle at the bottom, because it's Bournemouth with 9 in 17th, Luton in 18th with 6, Sheffield United 19th with 5, and Burnley wrapping up the table last place with 4 points.
Mm.
This will start with that relegation battle. Do you think it's set? Do we have the three teams that are going down? Is it going to be Luton, Sheffield, and Burnley?
I think so. There's still a possibility that Fulham and Forest add in, or Everton, I think. There's a possibility. Everton's looked really good ever since they got Calvert-Lewin back.
Mm-hmm.
They've looked really good. So I think they moved themselves out of that conversation a little bit. Fulham has looked really bad recently. Haven't picked up any results. So they're borderline, but I still think they're better than all those teams. And when it comes down to head-to-head matchups, they'll beat them.
Yeah.
So I think realistically, you have a 4-team relegation battle right now. I think 4 teams is probably safe.
Yeah.
Bournemouth has looked the most capable.
Yeah, they're the closest to that relegation zone still. But
yeah, they look the most capable out of them. Luton, it just looks like they're hoping to get lucky and get one magical play.
Yeah.
Like against Liverpool. Sheffield United can't defend to save their lives, and Burnley's an absolute friggin' dumpster fire.
Yep.
So I'd say those 3 for sure. And then, yeah, Bournemouth right now as well. But you could, depending on how things go, maybe see a little switch where Bournemouth suddenly starts picking up some results.
Mm-hmm.
Do they move themselves up? Does Fulham fall back? Does Everton fall back? Does Forest fall back?
Yeah.
But I'd say right now, 3 teams for sure. Bournemouth will be included with them provisionally.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it.
I like that look. And I mean, I personally think these are the 3 that are going down.
Mm.
For the season, I had Bournemouth going down, and I think Sheffield. No, I think I had Bournemouth going down, so one of them stayed up. The way it's been going, I don't see Burnley or Sheffield United doing anything. Maybe by some miracle they get a couple wins against the bottom teams and one of these guys and find their way and jump over Bournemouth. I don't see it happening. Bournemouth do play Sheffield United in Sheffield this upcoming Premier League weekend. But otherwise than that, I think Fulham haven't looked great, but I think they're better than the other 4. Nottingham Forest as well. And Everton has surprised me this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because we always talk about how at home in the past years it's been the Goodison Park playing there that saved them from relegation. This year, 6 matches, just 4 points. They're ranked 17th at home. Meanwhile, away, they have 10 points in 6 matches. Only Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and Tottenham have picked up more points away from home, which is kind of remarkable to see Everton as this away side, just kind of one you don't want to play at the moment.
I know that. Because like you said, they used to be home field merchants. Like that's how they made their living. But now it's like, yeah, they're getting their results on the road. They can't win for shit at Goodison, but go on the road and could be anyone's game with Everton there. They're going for it. So, yeah, wow. That stat just highlights how crazy it is. I'm just thinking about that right now.
It's bizarre, which doesn't look good for their next match home to Man United. But you never know.
You never know. Man U is terrible.
Yeah. Which leads us to kind of, I don't know, mid-table, not overly exciting. There's that race for kind of 6th to 8th place where there will be 2 European spots most likely. Man U at 6 with 21, Newcastle 7 with 20, Brighton 8th with 19. As of now, do you see it being Man U and Newcastle with Brighton kind of being on that cold streak and falling away, or Do you think, I know it's not too far out of it, West Ham's 3 points back of 7, Chelsea's 4 points back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Man U's gonna and Newcastle are gonna have the heads up, but I feel like they're aspiring for bigger things in that place.
Yeah.
And I still think they have a shot. But in terms of the teams that are behind them trying to get into that, Brighton right now looks like a shell of the team that started the year. So I don't know how confident I feel about them because they can't score right now. They can't defend right now. They can't win right now. West Ham somehow is actually still up there because they performed pretty well. They started out really well this year. They were literally in the top 5 for a while and then fell into the double digits. But then, they're back up. I don't see any reason they couldn't get 7th. I don't think they – I mean, I was going to say I don't think they will, but I honestly don't know with this team.
Yeah.
Because they actually gotten some pretty impressive results, but then they look pretty bad the week right after.
Yep.
So I don't know how to feel about them right now. Chelsea, I could honestly see pushing up into one of those places.
Yeah. So Chelsea's kind of your sleeper team for these European races as of right now.
Yeah, because they're getting results against good teams, which means that they have that capability.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to all come together. And I think with a first-year manager, a lot of new players, it takes a little bit of time. I think second half of the year, we could see a Chelsea team that's not like, out here changing the world or anything. But they're good enough that they could get back into Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look, Brentford, I think they're going to finish about where they are right now. Wolves, probably about the same. Crystal Palace, probably about the same. Feels like those teams are just kind of your middle of the table kind of fodder that you always expect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hard not to agree with you with that. I do think Man U, Newcastle are going to be looking for more Champions League than Europa or Conference League berths. Chelsea I could see as a sleeper. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of movement between these top 7, 8 teams the remainder of the season. And
Yeah.
Looking at the title pictures, 3 points separate first place Man City from 5th place Aston Villa. I don't know who I think is the favorite. I want to say Man City, but now we see Rodri might be hurt again. We saw how that went last time.
Yeah.
De Bruyne, he's supposed to come back around New Year's, just after New Year's?
After.
Potentially, but don't know what kind of physical level of play he'll be at. Tottenham obviously suffering injuries. This lines up perfectly, in my opinion, for I don't know how we can ever say this, is Liverpool is the most underrated team and kind of just forgotten about team this year. In my opinion, like they're kind of just there sitting in second place. You never really see much about them. They just had the one loss to Tottenham. Didn't look great against Luton, but besides that, they've kind of run through everybody and sit very, very comfortably.
No, I agree 100%. I feel like most of the talk in the offseason was about Salah. What's he going to do? Not, oh my God, they've got these new guys who can maybe make an impact. And hey, Nunez might actually start scoring.
Yeah.
And even as the season's gone on, I felt like early on we weren't talking enough about Tottenham. Then suddenly we all start talking about Tottenham a lot. And then they suddenly fall off. Now we're looking at the table, and holy shit, Liverpool's in second. How the hell are they in second?
Yeah.
Because they're actually winning every single game they play right now. They're performing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, the record is through 12 matches, 8 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. Not a bad record. They have a big test, which we could actually see Liverpool jump to top of the table after the next Premier League match, as they are taking on Man City at the Etihad, so an away match there. But it's exciting at the top.
Oh, yeah.
This has to be the most exciting Premier League title race we've had in quite a while. Sure, last year it was close around Christmas, but you always had, at least I know I always had that feeling that something about Arsenal's, not even that they couldn't do it, but their youth was going to give in and Man City's experience was going to show that it didn't feel quite like this one, where I realistically could see 3, maybe 4 teams winning the Premier League this year.
Yeah. I agree. I think the top four, every single one of them. I don't think Villa will win the league.
I'm gonna fall off. Oh my god! Could you imagine though?
My God.
Imagine the scenes. Aston Villa just does a Leicester and runs through everybody the rest of the season and wins the Premier League.
I mean, they're in the place. They're 3 points off.
I will say though, looking at, and this is not to take anything away from them at all, but the only team in the top 6 they've even played, or top 7 they've played, is they lost 5-1 to Newcastle and lost 3-0 to Liverpool. So they're beating everybody they're supposed to beat in the bottom half. 3 of their next 4: away to Tottenham, home to Man City, home to Arsenal.
Yeah.
You can get a couple results there. I will start taking Aston Villa much more seriously, but it's not the easiest thing to say. But who knows? I mean, they're so good at home.
Yeah, and they're at home both of those games against
Why
City.
not beat City? Why not beat Arsenal? Oh my goodness, that'd be crazy to see. Yeah, they're 6-0 at home this year in the Premier League. Villa Park is a fortress. I would love to see it. I don't think it's going to happen, but
It will not happen. There's just no way. I said that about Leicester too back in the day, but there's just no way, right? Like, there's no way.
No, because even with Leicester, there felt to me a little something different because it was Vardy.
Yeah.
Vardy was out. By this point, he probably had damn near 20 goals. It was at a ridiculous start to the season. Ollie Watkins has 6 goals leading Villa. It's not like everything's kind of going their way. It's a lot of relatively close-ish matches, a lot of 3-1s, couple 4-1s. Obviously, that 6-1 drubbing of Brighton, but
Yeah.
there seems to be just they need that clinical win or that big name win to have them taken seriously. Well, leads me to my question, Jackson. Of these top, we could throw 6 instead. Throw Man U, Newcastle in.
All right.
What is your Champions League for the end of the season? Who do you think finishes in those top 4?
All right. So I'm still gonna go City.
Yep.
I think you gotta give them the nod. They've been here before. They've dealt with way worse situations where they've had to come from behind. Now they're not coming from behind. They just have to. Honestly, if they think about it, if they win every game for the rest of the year, they will be champions. So they just have to take care of business, and they've shown that they can take care of business. So you got to give them the nod. It's not as firm of a nod as it's been in the past, for sure, but you got to give them the nod. And then following that, I'm going to back Arsenal to get second. I'm going to stick with my preseason predictions. I think Arsenal will get second. This next one, I think we got to go Liverpool. They've been so good, and they're going to be right there with Arsenal. I was debating between those two, who would be second. I think you could switch either of them. And then after that, I'm going Tottenham as well in 4. I know that's easy to kind of pick because that's basically what it is right now, but I genuinely feel like those are the 4 best teams. I think Man U needs to figure something out, and I don't think Newcastle's consistent enough. So those are the 2 teams that be coming from behind. And Aston Villa, I don't think will get the results they need to on the road. And I think they will falter at home in a few of these big key games. So I don't think they'll get it. I think they'll get Europe, but I don't think they'll get Champions League. So those are my 4 and kind of the order I think they'll fall.
Oh, I like that. I agree with you. I think Man City does win the title. Just seems inevitable that they're going to get healthy at some point. Everybody's going to come back and they'll find that second wind like they always do. As of now, I'm going to stick with Liverpool in second. It's not the kind of the easiest one to say, but I do think that they are slightly better than Arsenal, and I also think there's less attention on them, which could be beneficial as the season goes on. Have that big stretch in December of at Man United, home to Arsenal, Burnley, and then home to Newcastle, which that'll be showing a lot for Liverpool. This is the one I don't know because I have three teams I can realistically see finishing in these 3, 4, 5, and it's Arsenal, Tottenham, and Man U. Something deep down in my soul that just hurts has a feeling Man U's going to get something kind of fixed and figured out the second half of the season. So I think they will finish in one of the Champions League spots. Then it's that toss up of Tottenham and Arsenal, and I'm gonna lean Arsenal for the sole reason that it seems Tottenham is too injured at the moment, and this injured stretch will cost them further down the line, where they'll lose points where they should be winning them, and they'll kind of miss out on that chase.
All right. No, those are good picks. And you think Villa falls all the way out of that talk?
I think Villa falls to 6. I think it's really Man U jumps Villa, and then it's one of those ones that they kind of. I think it'll be new. I think the pack will separate, and it'll be those top 4 or 5. Then it'll be Villa, Newcastle, bit of a gap, mid-table mediocrity.
All right, I like that.
You want the fan in me opinion? Villa's going to come out of nowhere, win the table. Newcastle's going to get second. We'll throw Tottenham at third. And out of the ashes, West Ham in fourth.
In fourth? Wouldn't you be mad if that happens?
Could you imagine the scenes of suddenly everything goes wrong and just that's some FIFA simulation, but 10 years down the line.
Not some Football Manager advance all the way to like 2050. Yeah.
But Jackson, anything else you want to talk about on It's Called Football today? I think we've done pretty much everything Premier League we can think of.
Yeah, we got a lot in, though. We got more than I thought we'd get in, honestly. So, kudos to us.
Hey, who would have thought? But no, I don't have much either. It is the international break. Like we said earlier, England doesn't have much excitement going on. Malta, North Macedonia. U.S. What, Trinidad and Tobago today?
If that doesn't happen, I will actually riot.
What, you think the U.S. might lose that one?
We did when it mattered back in 2017. It's a two-legged
quarterfinals, so I didn't realize they do 2 legs for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, first one in U.S., second in Trinidad. Which, man, dude, the thought of the U.S. going back to Trinidad gives me PTSD.
Oh, I can believe it. It's going to be a feisty one. I like that Jamaica-Canada matchup. That just seems fun.
Spicy, huh?
Spicy. Costa Rica, Panama.
Right now, too. Canada's in shambles, so.
Yeah, they're not great. Other one that is exciting, and I know this is just international talk at this point. We talked about South America's World Cup qualifiers. Get your TV set, folks. Whether it's tonight or next Tuesday. Tonight, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Brazil. This will actually be out after that, so hopefully you did watch it. If not, go back and watch the highlights. And next Tuesday, Brazil hosting Argentina. We all know how this one always goes.
Yeah.
Take the over on cards. Take the over on goals. Take the over on chaos. I'm leaning Brazil, though.
You're leaning Brazil.
Leaning Brazil.
They do well in qualifying. I'll give them that, usually.
And they're at home. It hasn't lost in God knows how long. They're due.
Yeah.
Also, wouldn't be surprised, actually, if Argentina lose to Uruguay, but that's at home. And did you see the story about the stadium they're playing at?
Yeah, because of friggin' Taylor Swift.
They had to move.
And don't get me started on that.
It's crazy.
My girlfriend's a Swiftie, and
no,
he thinks she dominates the world. I'm like, bro, just ease up.
First, this might get us some hate. Messi is a bigger star than Taylor Swift.
You can't argue it. He's got more social media followers. Just look at the people who went to the World Cup celebration parade. Look at the people who are running to him every time he's on a bus. Like, nah, dude, he's more of an idol. He and Ronaldo are like life-changing idols. Taylor Swift is not as life-changing of like an idol as those two are. I will 100% die on that hill.
I will back you up on that. This is not necessarily a Taylor Swift hate show, but it is at the moment. Whenever there's talk of her taking over football, I strongly disagree with anyone's opinions.
Once she enters our arena, that's when we get pissed.
Oh yeah, and I'm still convinced that the U.S. is going to have a massive civil war coming up when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce break up. The two most toxic fan bases in the country are going to go at it. We're going to just be here sitting on the sideline, eating popcorn and watching South American football. But Jackson, been a pleasure as always. Thank you guys, the viewers, for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of It's Called Football, and we'll see you next week.